Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to our Budget Community Portfolio series for the month of April 2025. Now, this is not my larger private portfolio. This is the smaller on a budget public one where I only deposit $100 each month into this new account. And then I use that money to invest in stocks, some of which is also influenced by you guys through various polls, comments, and messages that you send me, especially on Discord. And then I do an update video once a month, which, by the way, used to include responding to comments. However, a few people gave feedback on that, saying that it was making these videos a little longer. They would kind of prefer that to have its own video if possible. I actually kind of agreed with it. I think these update videos should focus more so on the portfolio itself. Then if I make a separate AMA type of video, like Ask Me Anything type of video, then it would also allow me to talk a little more about the stock market and any related topics to the portfolio here. And then I can respond to a lot more comments in its own separate video as well. So I'll be putting that video out right after this one, and it'll be a ton of fun. I'm going to try to go through as many comments as I can in that AMA type of video, and make sure you don't miss that one coming up. But for this video, for this series, the way we're going to do it now is just kind of covering two main parts. Part one will be how the portfolio is doing so far, how the stock market in general is kind of doing over the past month, and all the trades that we made over the last month, which was March. And then that'll be followed by part two in this same video here, where we'll also talk about how each individual stock is performing in the portfolio, either up or down, and what I plan to buy in this current month of April for this specific budget portfolio. And and that'll just be kind of the format going forward. I'll be talking a little bit more about the broader market, maybe a little bit touch on the economy, give my thoughts, talk about stocks in the portfolio, and just have it a little more focused and streamlined for that. And then again, a comments AMA type of video following that right after. Okay. Before we get started though, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you'd like to get full access to this portfolio as well as our private community Discord, where you can reach me, hang out with other members, and even get access to my daily stock trade, where I post a new stock purchase every single day for this portfolio, then you can get access to all of that by supporting me on Patreon. Link is in the description. And thank you to everyone that does support the channel that way, because I couldn't do this without you. It means a lot to me, so thank you for that. And lastly, just a heads up, we do use SoFi for this portfolio, which I'm a huge fan of. It's completely free. It's very similar to Robinhood. Many people think it's even better in a lot of ways. I'm not directly sponsored by them. I do own stock in them, but I do also provide my referral link down below in the description in case you do want to try it. If you use that link, you also get a bonus $25 worth of stocks absolutely free. So I highly recommend it. SoFi is awesome for a lot of financial things, but especially investing in stocks, commission free. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into part one now and take a look at how the market and the portfolio is holding up so far and all the moves that we made last month in March. All right, now speaking about March, this was, of course, another pretty bad month for us and really the rest of the market, with the NASDAQ, for example, falling another 8% in March, and it's down double digits for the year as well, as many investors continue to worry about the economy, with inflation, of course, coming in higher than expected once again, even sending gold prices up to a record high now. I think it climbed like every single week in March because, investors are flocking over to gold, searching for some safety from all of this inflation that, just kind of continues to linger on. Obviously, the inflation rate has come down, but inflation is cumulative. So consumers across the board, we're still feeling the effects of inflation. We're still dealing with much higher prices today than, before the pandemic, for example. Now, we also just recently got a survey done of consumer sentiment, and it was the lowest reading in over 2 years. So yeah, things are not, too well out there for consumers, still struggling with high prices. And a big part of the lower kind of consumer confidence or sentiment out there is also, of course, because of the fears kind of surrounding tariffs. Whether you agree with tariffs or not, it is something that, could affect many companies out there. And the media, of course, is really talking about it kind of nonstop. So you got consumers already struggling with all these years of crazy high inflation and interest rates coming off the pandemic, but now you're also adding on top of that this new fear of tariffs, and that's being kind of shown to people a lot. So everyone's kind of afraid of it. And, that is an understandable concern, and it is some uncertainty out there with the economy. And of course, the stock market just hates uncertainty. So if that's going to be hurting consumer confidence, it could potentially hurt the economy even worse, because the economy, of course, is mostly consumer driven. So you hit consumers, they start spending less. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You end up with a recession too. There's many different things that could cause that, but yeah, the kind of point is that a lot of uncertainty out there. The economy is not in great shape, and there's some fear and panic out there. In fact, the fear and greed index from CNN Business that uses various indicators is currently on the furthest level of extreme fear. So, it's just a very volatile time right now in the market, a lot of fear out there, and a lot of selling pressure in the stock market. Now, I will say though, even though it's currently hurting the community portfolio, which I'll show you in just a second here, I'm actually loving the low prices. And I know that doesn't sound, right. I know that sounds a little bad of me to say that, but I kind of wanted to continue a little bit because I want to get as low prices as possible in some of my favorite stocks, which we'll dive into in just a second here when we go over the individual holdings in the portfolio that we're also buying. But yeah, let's go ahead and turn over to the community portfolio now. Let's see how it's looking. And yeah, as you would expect, it fell another 5% this past month, with the total account still sitting at just barely above the $2,000 mark. After having it open now for over a year, which we are currently up around 13% on it. However, we do also have over $300 of that just sitting in cash. So when you exclude that, well, our actual stock investments are up a little more at around 15% gains. And again, that's not too bad, considering how poorly the market is doing right now. And it's also setting up some good buying opportunities, which again, I do actually like to see as a long-term investor. I want to get low prices for the long term. Speaking of which, I did run a few polls during the month to see which stocks you guys wanted me to buy more of in the community portfolio, including this one on YouTube, where I asked which of these small positions in the portfolio should I buy more of, each with about 2% weight. And I was actually hoping that you guys would vote for American Tower, AMT, because I just like their dividend a little more. But it was actually NextEra Energy who took the clear win at 39% of the vote. So we added more of that. But that's also one of my favorite renewable energy stocks. So, that's totally fine with me. Then over on Patreon, I asked you guys which of our 10 best performing stocks should we add more of, to which we had a close race between Meta and Palantir, but ultimately Meta was the one that took the win at 41% of the votes, so I did add more of them. And then over on Discord, I actually asked the complete opposite. Which of the 10 worst performing stocks should we buy more of? To which 21% of the votes went to Pfizer, and that's a big dividend value stock there. So we went ahead and added more of them. And then finally, just another poll here on Discord again. I actually asked which brand new dividend stock should I add to the community portfolio. So I was going to add a brand new stock, a dividend one. And that one took 29% of the votes. It went to Scott's Miracle-Gro, just barely ahead of Stanley Black & Decker, who both yield over 4%. Now, honestly, I'd love to have both of those in this community portfolio. And I actually just recently added Stanley to my private portfolio too. And I also have SMG in there as well. But for now, SMG took the win here, Scott's. So I added them to the community portfolio. It's the newest brand new stock that we've added to it. And in total for the month, I spent $75. So that's obviously well under the, $100 kind of budget that we try to stick to. But this is actually a little misleading here, because the previous month went until I think it was like March 10th, because I was late in making that video. So this was actually just like 2/3 of the month here where I spent 75. So I actually overspent. It's misleading. You kind of can't tell, but $75 for only 2/3 of the month was actually, quite a bit of spending. But yeah, I would say with the market falling now, I might actually want to go over budget in future months here, especially if it keeps falling like this, because again, there's just such great prices out there, which we'll also take a look at in just a second. You'll see that some of our stocks are actually down and we would like to add more. But yeah, so in March, total spent $75 and broken up here. The one that I spent the most on was Extra Space Storage at $25. That's probably my favorite dividend REIT stock at the moment. And then $15 I spent on Google, probably my overall favorite stock, just kind of broadly in the market. And then $10 on Scotts Miracle-Gro, big dividend stock, newest edition. And then just another $5 each on C3.ai, Amazon, Meta, NextEra Energy, and Pfizer, all stocks that I also like at the moment. Moving on to part two, though. This is where it's going to start to get really interesting here, guys, because we've got many stocks falling now that I can't wait to buy more of. So let's take a look at those. And here's all the holdings that we have here on SoFi. If you want to take a closer look at these, I do post all the screenshots on our Discord. But for now, we'll just use some custom charts to make it easier to see, which currently Google remains our #1 largest holding, followed by Palantir, Amazon, Microsoft, Vici Properties, SoFi, Verizon, and Extra Space Storage, making up around half of the entire portfolio just in those stocks alone. And I'm not going to go through all the rest of these, but just at a quick glance here, I think everything is shaping up pretty well. Palantir might be a little high there, but that's just because it's been soaring this past year. And apart from that, I would just like to add some more of Scotts Miracle-Gro and American Tower, since those are the two newest additions to the portfolio at only 1% weight each. And they're also big dividend payers, which I love to buy right now for a young portfolio like this. As you can see, though, despite the overall market falling, most of our holdings are actually still solidly in the green, with Palantir being the best performer at over 200% gains, while Alibaba, SoFi, and Tesla are up around 50% each, with several others at around 30 to 40% gains, and still several more in the double digits. Where it starts to get a lot more interesting, though, is in the single-digit gainers, which I pretty much love to add more of any of these, but especially Amazon is one of our biggest holdings, and I like them for their size, their growth, but also Vici Properties, and of course, Scotts Miracle-Gro for their big dividends. And then for the ones in the red, I cannot wait to go really ham on some of these, especially Extra Space Storage. Again, that's probably my favorite dividend REIT in the entire market. So to be negative on it, want to buy more. I guess we're like flat, but yeah, I want to buy more of that one. And then also Google. I mean, that's my #1 holding in this portfolio. It's my overall favorite stock in the market. It's kind of like a dream come true to be negative on it, because that just gives me the green light to be able to go in and buy even more, even though it is our biggest holding. But yeah, I have strong beliefs in Google stock long term, so I'm not worried at all about that one being in the red. I want to buy more of it. And then also, of course, some Microsoft, some C3, and even some Pfizer too for their big dividend as well. Now, I will say that, with the market going down, it can be a little hard sometimes to see your stocks falling. But again, if we have that long-term mindset, it's something that we should not be afraid of. We really want to get the lowest prices possible and then ride up the wave long-term over the years in the future, get those gains. Now, speaking of the future, I did add another fresh $100 to the account for April's budget, bringing the portfolio up to over $2,100 now. The amount changed a little bit during the recording of this video because the market was open, but that's also leaving us with a cash ratio of about 20% too. By the way, that cash could definitely come in handy if the market keeps falling here, because it's like I always preach to you guys, don't be afraid to have at least some of your portfolio, even if it's just a small portion, in cash, because when you find yourself in a situation like this, when the market is actually dipping, Or if things get even worse and we see, a big correction or crash, you want to have some cash on the sidelines. That isn't, I'm not talking about your savings, that's separate. I'm not talking about emergency funds. I'm not talking about your rent money. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your specifically money that goes towards investing in stocks that you can afford to lose, that type of money. For me, I always try to have some on the side so that when we have these opportunities, when stocks are going down, I can actually go in a little heavier and I'm actually able to lower my cost basis on some of my stocks that are in the red. So yeah, we might be dipping into some of those cash reserves in the coming months if the market continues to fall. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this month's update. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, next video is going to have an Ask Me Anything type of video where I'll be responding to a lot of comments and questions. You won't want to miss that. But yeah, I'll see you guys there. Thanks again, my friends, for all of your support. Drop any comments you'd like here. I'll try to respond to them in other videos too, and I'll try to respond in the comment section as well. But I hope you're all doing well, and I will catch you in the next one. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.